What's up, everybody? David Avalon here. We're at Drysdale. We're at Drysdale Jiu-Jitsu in Las Vegas. Right, best place to be here. As I've said, we're going to be doing the Cradle Series webinar.
I had a hard time establishing my pass no-gi. I always say that passing the guard is one thing, establishing position is something completely different. They're not the same thing. So a lot of times I would get close to my opponent, almost pass, but I couldn't quite hold him down. It's very slippery. Nothing to hold on to. You know, I come from a gi background, so I was missing those grips. So you start looking for adaptations, right? How can I modify my pass and make it work? So one thing, So one thing that was happening is whenever I reached to control my opponent's head, he would just pummel this arm off. Even if when I grabbed his head, it was so easy for him to push this arm away, and I could never, normally you grab a collar here in the gi, without the gi, you have nothing to hold on to. So it became a bit of a problem. The other problem I had was this, I call it the China wall, some people call it the knee shield. This shin across my hip is a nightmare. This is not easy to beat, right? Because it creates range. It doesn't matter how heavy I am, the more I lean, it's always easier for him to create that space by just keeping this knee across my rib cage. So one thing I started doing is I have two variations. So I've always done this, a lot of times I'll do this too, but they serve the same purpose. It's really to bring this knee down. Meanwhile, what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna be reaching over the top of his head. Why over the top? Because it's so much harder for him to peel my arm. When I go underneath his head, it's easy for him to, look, blocks, see, even if when I have the head, he can just exactly swim his arm on the inside. So when I go here, what I do is I reach all the way around. And I think about wrapping the back of his neck, and I want to bring his head in close to this knee. So I shoot my left arm through, and I want my hands to meet in the middle. We call a finger grip, okay, S grip right here. This is what I'm doing. You could go gable grip, but the gable grip's a lot shorter, so I don't recommend in this situation. It's going to feel awkward too because your elbow's going to be extended. You're not going to be here. You're going to have your elbows open. So I'd rather use the S grip here. Okay, so fingers, boom. I reach all the way around, grab his head, and I connect my hands. From here I have a lot of options, guys. Like the Cradle Series really sort of shows a lot of combinations from here. I'm going to stick to one of my favorite passes from here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to butt flop to my right hip. Notice that I'm going to stay really close to the head. And it's hard for Luis to peel his head out. When he tries to push me away, he's really almost like neck cranking himself. That's one reason I like this position so much, was when he tries to shrimp, it feels like he's neck cranking himself, so a lot of times they stop pushing away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fall to my right hip. Now, I play stupid here. I'm playing a silly game here. I want Luis to think what? That he's going to get on top of me. And it looks like I'm pulling him on top of me. But see, he can't come up. All right? So what they do a lot of times here is they let go, uncross their feet, and they try to bridge to get on top of him. Here's a split, the catch though. When he splits his feet to bridge, I just step out, and I move myself in. Okay? So it really is a trap. Like I'm playing stupid. I kind of lean back. I lead this guy to believe that by stomping his feet on the ground, by bridging, he's going to get on top of me and sweep me, right? But he can't because he's cradled. So it's so easy for me to recover. I'll win that fight 10 out of 10, really. I don't know, it's almost impossible. As long as your hands are connected, it's almost impossible for you to lose that fight. It's never happened to me. So one more time. So I do have my knee in half guard. Okay, I'm reaching for the leg. I use this a lot of times. A lot of times with the cradle, I use the top. But this right here, I use a lot for the pass as well because it allows me to drop my shoulder on the outside of his knee. When I'm reaching around the head, I think about going elbow deep on the back of his neck. I'm going to connect my hands, S grip, and I'm going to fall to my hip. As soon as I fall to my hip, if he doesn't take the bait and he stays on his side, I start doing this. I start falling back. The thing is, it looks like he's going to get on top of him, but he can't. So what they do a lot of times is they want to uncross their feet to really push off the ground. Yes. I shrimp, and I come back up. My left hand blocks the bottom leg. Okay, now I can control the head here because I'm ready to move into side control. And from here, it depends on what you want to do next. Okay. So that's a pass. It's like I call it the butt flop to the to side control. It's one of my favorite passes from Cradle, and I've been using it more and more. Like I said earlier, no gi. This is one of my favorite passes, favorite controls because I'm lacking the collar, but at the same time I want something to hold on to. This gives me something to hold on to. It's a very common wrestling pan. A lot of wrestlers like this this type of game because it relates a lot to their world. It looks like oh, you know, you have to really hold them there. Guys, I'm telling you, once you connect your hands, it's not hard. There's no effort here. Like my fingers are working a little bit, but not a whole bunch. I won't lie to you, when you're longer, it does give you some advantage. If you're going against someone taller than you, it could be a little bit harder. It's kind of like when you got short legs, locking a triangle on someone can be more difficult. When you're shorter than your opponent, locking the cradle on them could be slightly harder. So the height that could be an advantage in relation to your opponent, of course, all relative. So that's my favorite pass. I'm going to show you guys also my most common submission from cradle. It's going to be a similar setup. Okay? So I'm going to be here. All right? And what I'm going to be doing is, instead of having my knee on the ground, this time I'm going to have my knee up. I call this combat stance. All right? I like this knee up because it gives me a lot of options to switch directions, back out if I have to. I'm generally speaking safe from submissions here. Not a whole bunch of submissions you can execute as long as I have this knee up. What I'm going to do here is, if I can't drop my shoulder onto his knee, I'm going to start playing this pummeling fight with Luis here, right? And very common thing for Luis to do is, he just keeps pummeling with me, playing that half guard. It's difficult because he has range. I'm not close enough to win that underhook fight because this guy right here gets in the way. So when Luis wins that underhook fight, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot this arm through and collapse his elbow. You see what I'm doing here? I want to get his arm low on my lower back. I don't like that arm high on my lower back because it gives him too many options to go to my back. Okay? At this point, he's winning. So I dig my left arm through. A lot of times I even think about arm barring him here. Yeah? You know, you're not going to quite, you don't always get him, but it makes him what? It makes him drop his arm. All right? Once he drops his arm, I can start going for what I'm going to do next. A few different ways I can set this up. I grab the ear. Yeah, a lot of times I just use my elbow to pull his head in. Okay? Regardless, I need to get this arm in deep. So my overhook or my whizzer, it's not just getting my hand in there. I got to go shoulder deep. I want this hand popping out on the other side. So the deeper I go, the better. Okay, there's a little trick here. So if you got shorter arms, sometimes your arm doesn't quite reach. So what I like to do a lot of times is I'll slide my knee out till my hip hits the ground. Once my hip is on the ground, my arms become slightly longer. You'll see. So I collapse, I pull the head. What I do is, see how I'm sliding my knee out? Look at my left arm. It goes exactly where it needs to be. Now here's the catch about the Darce. You don't want your hand too deep. You don't want it too shallow. You want it right in the sweet spot. Sweet spot reference is the back of my thumb wrapping on the back of his neck. This is the key for the Darce right here. So this little bone is attacking this little muscle on his neck. It's not quite a choke. It's more of a slicer. What the bicep slicer is, it's kind of like a neck slicer, okay? Sometimes a choke, but it's normally like a slicer on this little tender muscle right here. It's very sensitive. It's not very strong. Put a little pressure on him, he'll tap. Okay? And from here, it looks like I'm giving him top position. I want him getting on top. Because I'm going to do what? I'm going to lock that Darce as he comes up. Notice that I don't do this and then this on this Darce. Other Darces I will control with the gable grip and then transition to this. On this one, I'm going straight from my left hand to my right bicep. As I lock, look where my thumb is. Too deep, too shallow. This is where I want to be. If you feel a little gap between my bicep and his neck, you're doing it correct. Okay? I don't want my bicep on his neck. That means I'm too deep. This is where I want it. With that being said, very rarely will you have the problem where your arm is too deep. That almost never happens. Normally you have the problem, your arm is not deep enough because obviously he's trying to posture to pull his arm out. So normally the problem you have is the opposite. But this is where I want to be. Lock. How do I finish? Okay? Normally I try to finish on my side. What I'm going to do is I want to walk into my opponent as I slice. Okay? So I don't think if you had a knife, you wouldn't cut someone pushing the knife like this. You would slice your opponent. That's what I'm doing. I slice as I push my head into his belly. Push my belly into his head. So this is what I'm doing. Push the head with my belly as I slice. 1, 2. If he's not tapping, he's a tough guy, strong neck, what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk out. I'm going to align myself north-south with my opponent. I can even give it a little bridge if I want. And as soon as I get on top, I cut him off so he doesn't continue to go to his knees. I still have the same Darce here. Look at my hips now. I'm going to press my chest into his arm as I slice. Okay? Probably my favorite way of finishing. I'll do it one more time. I'm going to do the other side now. So put your head over here, Luis. Okay? So I'm in here, trying to pass. No luck. I'm playing this underhook fight. Nothing's happening. Okay, collapse the arm. Okay, I want that arm low. I don't want his elbow high. This makes my life a lot harder. So what I do, I don't push on the shoulder. I feel like I'm sprawling. I'm leaning on that elbow. And I drop his elbow. Now I got him. Once that elbow goes low, I pull the head in. And I slide my knee out. But Rob is going to get on top. I want him getting on top. Look at my right hand. Walk right here. Slice as I walk in. If he's not tapping, I'm going to roll him over. Use that momentum to pull myself on top. And I immediately shut him off. Don't try to finish here. He'll keep rolling. Okay? And I don't want him on his knees. Go back to your side. Once he's on his side, I'm going to shut him off. with my chest on his arm. As I slice, I lean, and I press off my toes. It's not so much squeezing, guys. It looks like you're squeezing. It's more of a slice, and I'm pressing my chest into his shoulder. I also use my toes to make myself slightly heavier. By pressing off my toes, I push my chest into his arm. My arm is being pushed into his neck, kind of like a triangle. When you move that arm across, it's a similar dynamic. I keep this arm so tight across his neck. When I push with my chest and I slice, it compresses everything, and that's my Darce.
Okay, so let's take a little break. If you want, the class can start drilling this, and I'll start going through some of the questions here, and so we'll take like 5 minutes.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Everyone get it? Loose. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, the string close up. All right, guys. If you have any questions that he showed 2. I forgot to stop him after the first one. But if you have any questions or anything he just went over, go ahead, chat them in right away. Just leave a comment. That way I can address them. All right, and I'm just gonna relay them to Robert and then get his feedback on it. Okay. So again, if you have any questions or anything that you just saw, go ahead, make a comment there. And I'll try to get to them, and first come, first serve. Otherwise, if you like this stuff, again, just leave a comment, let me know. All right, feedback's important here. But for me, that was pretty awesome. So, again, we still got more stuff, all right? So we're just taking a little break in between. All right, David the Bush, glad to see you on there. Cincinnati. Yeah, that thumb detail, Chris, that's the first thing I learned from Robert here. That was something I wasn't aware of. I always used to think that you wanted to get deep in with a Bravo or the Darce, but learned it from the big man that definitely that's not the approach. Details for the sweep, Chris? Do you mean for the pass? When he was doing the butt flop? Oh, okay, from the Darce. I see what you're saying now. Okay, yeah, I can ask him to show that part again for sure. And I believe what you're talking about is when they come on top and then he's going to re-roll them. So if that's correct, let me know and I'll ask him once we stop the break. More detail on the slice. All right, John, we'll cover that as well.
We're doing the second. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll take it off me for a second. You guys probably don't want to see me, but some of the action. All right, so Tyrone, would you create a larger opponent? Personally, sure. As long as you can lock your hands, you can definitely set it up. The thing is, once you get a cradle real tight and you have your arms cinched in, their strength becomes largely irrelevant. I got lucky, David. And again, if you just jumped in right now, we're taking a little intermission. Robert just showed 2 techniques back to back, one on the passing the guard with the cradle and the other using the Bravo choke. And if you guys are watching now, we got a UFC legend here, Frank Mir, talking to Robert in the background. So again, it just tells you what type of level that we're dealing with here. Oh, you're very welcome, Tyrone. Again, if you're just jumping in, we're just going to give them a few more minutes, all right, to come in and finish practicing the techniques that Robert just showed. And then when we come back with Robert, I'll have him answer some of the questions you guys gave. Again, if anybody else has questions, let me know. Right now, the stuff I'm going to ask is one, what does he mean by the slice? So have him give more detail on that. And then two, about how to do the sweep from the bottom once you're doing the Darce. David Love, no, I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada here. Want someone here? Oh, Lucas, he wants someone to say hello. I'll jump in there real quick and creep on them. What's going on, Frank? Hey, we're here on Facebook Live here. Some people saw you in the background, so I want to give a shout out there. That is the man. You're welcome, Lucas. Yeah, you can. Let me get them for you.
All right, guys, really quick here. So let's come back. So we had a couple questions here.
John Allen.
Allen?
John Allen.
John Allen.
For the slice.
The slice, okay.
Okay.
Who's the other one?
The other one, hold on, it's a lot. Chris Lowe.
Okay.
Yeah.
So generally speaking on the Darce, right? Let's say I got the Darce from side control. It doesn't have to be from half guard. You can set it up from almost anywhere. On your side there for me. Okay. So basically a Darce is like a T. You need a T. I can't be, if we're both on our sides, there's no Darce. If we're both facing down, there's no Darce. He has to be on his side, I have to be facing down. Look at the T position, right? And then we're okay. I'm gonna shoot my arm in. My reference is always the back of my thumb on the back of his neck, right? So what do I mean by slice? So I think of this right here as a blade. Think of this as a knife. If I wanted to cut his neck, I wouldn't do that. So it's not so much squeezing, not pushing this at the neck. I think about slicing the neck, right? Like a lot of times it's the motion of like starting a car, right? So you go like this and you like kind of rotate your wrist. See how I'm digging that wrist into his neck, but at the same time I'm pulling my arm back. Remember, this is locked. So when I pull it back, it's not so much disengaging my hand from my bicep, it's really pulling my other elbow in. It locks it even tighter, and it gives the neck that slicing motion versus, just trying to push my wrist into his neck. It's not the same. Once you try both, sometimes a squeeze will work. Guys, I'm not against squeezing, okay? But there's a technical way of doing things, require less energy. That's my definition of technique, right? Maximizing outcome, minimizing effort. And that's how I think of technique. When I get my arm in there, right? Look at my left hand. Okay, so it's attached to my bicep. That motion right there, plus the sprawl. Okay, right now I'm not even pushing off my toes. I'm still on my knees. I'm just using my chest. If I really want to make myself heavy, I push off my chest, I push off my toes, and I slice. Yeah. You feel that, Luis?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not, the other thing about that's important about most techniques, in fact, it's not, don't think of it as a 1, 2, 3. You can't compartmentalize. You have to make, really like a blitzkrieg, everything together. It's this, it's the chest, okay, it's me pushing off my toes, it's the sprawl, everything working together. It's what makes a submission so deadly. If you do one thing at a time, obviously he can handle the pain, and it's not going to be that deadly. Okay, one more time. So the slice, so I shoot that arm through. Once I connect it, Darce, look at my chest. I push my chest into his arm, and I drive off my toes. That's my sprawl. And it was so tight I didn't have to move my wrist much. But basically I'm doing this right here as I pull my arm back. So it's this motion. Okay? It's like kind of like starting a car but pulling your elbow back. If you're here, obviously on your fingers, you don't have a good darce to begin with. If you do that, you're just gonna pull your hand out. Make sure your hand's attached to the bicep. That's why like the initial setup of the darce is so important. A good defense for my opponent would be to have his elbows back and his head up, and this would normally be too long for me to wrap it. A darce normally comes when they're here, head down, head arm forward, which is common off a single when they're pummeling, playing a half guard. People tend to lead with their heads and lead with their arm, and it makes the noose a lot smaller, and that's what I'm looking for. If they had their head up with good posture, their elbows back in good posture, I mean, you would have to be excessively long to be able to get that darce. Normally, like no one, your chances are your arms are not that long, so this would be difficult. Think of that triangle. It's the same principle. Your head's down, your arms cross, you're caught in a triangle. Okay. Next question: how do I get on top of him? So if I hit the darce, it's kind of like a sacrifice submission, right? I'm on top. I slide my knee out. I lock the darce, and I go to my side. Normally, I'm able to finish here. So it's the same slicing motion, plus me pushing my belly into his head. I caught him. Let's say this guy's not tapping. Very strong. You know, he's not tapping, strong neck. Maybe I don't have a perfect wrap. That happens too. My hands aren't perfectly connected. So what I do is I walk north-south. Now my opponent has nothing to base on. So when I go north-south, he's going over. I am just continuing the momentum of the roll to pull myself up. And I get where? My chest on his arm. Look where my left hand is in relation to my right arm. Slice, push, press, sprawl. I got him. Okay? So you see how I get him over? It's very important that when I roll him, I cut him off on a 90-degree angle to prevent him from coming up. Because if we're here, sometimes he keeps rolling all out of bounds. You've seen that in videos. Right? The guy gets the anaconda, the darce, and they're rolling out of bounds, get a roll. Next thing you know, boom. You lose your position because you didn't really stop him on his track. So the second I get on top, I want to make sure I get my submission. I don't want to give him a second chance.
Gotcha. Again, another question here from David Love. Yeah, I think you addressed this, but he said blood choke versus pain choke.
There's a lot of overlapping. You know, I've put people to sleep here with the darce before. Normally, it's more of a, so this is the blade, right? This is my knife right here. This is my target, this guy right here, this muscle. So I'm digging the blade into this little muscle right here. With that being said, sometimes it can sit a little bit lower, closer to the carotid, and that will choke him. All right, so there's a lot of overlapping. Sometimes it will choke and hurt. Normally, it's more of a slice, would be the equivalent of a bicep slicer. I'm really attacking the bone against the muscle. So like the bone is slicing, this blade right here is slicing the bicep or the calf. It's a similar principle. But it can choke. It depends on how deep you are. Sometimes it sits a little bit closer to the neck. The only one you don't want is with the blade sitting on the back of the neck. That's not going to. This is your target. If you happen to sit a little bit lower, that's going to work as well. Happen to sit a little bit lower, that's going to work as well.
Okay, very good.
So it's your turn now?
Yeah, I'm going to jump in now. Cool. All right, so.
You going to use me as a dummy or?
No. I got Lewis here. You guys can run the camera.
Cameraman.
All right, so scoot back a little bit. All right, guys, so I'm going to show, first off, a simple setup. Again, once I watched this series with Robert, it got my mind thinking, well, how many different ways can I, implement this cradle? And this was the first thing that came to my head, and it was really the easiest thing to do. So I'll demonstrate it first. All we're going to do, against a sitting guard, okay, so it's very little technique required here. And again, if I'm standing or even on my knees, I'm just going to look to snap the head. Again, not at the base of the neck, but towards the top. Pull it down, and then I'm going to cover it. Almost like you're doing a guillotine. So he might be thinking guillotine, tuck his chin in as I come over here. But really, this other hand now is going to wrap around the leg. So if my right arm is going over his head, my left arm is going to go under his right leg, or my left. Now again, same thing as I was showing before with the cradle, S grip, all right? And then really cinch the cradle by digging your elbows together. And here, and my goal is to try to get his kneecap in his eye socket, all right? So once I have him here, now I'm gonna tilt him, boom, bring him to the side, okay? That would be the ideal situation. Sometimes you might not be able to drive him over. I'll have him here, and maybe he's posting on his hand. He's resisting that way. Okay, so what we're gonna do instead gonna do like a head cartwheel, all right? Where on the bridge of my head, and come around this way. Again, all right, so I'm here, snap the head, boom, block it up. I try to drive him over, he's posting. All I'm doing, gonna put my head in the mat, okay? Come over, and you can fall over. You're in no danger here. I mean, he's gonna try to get up. You got a cradle. Again, if I pinch everything tight, he's not going anywhere. Easily get back on top. And I can ride him out right here. Okay? Once we get him here, we have a few options. All right? What we'll do, once I get him to the side, all right, first thing here is that I'm gonna try to table this leg. Meaning, from here, my left leg is gonna come over, boom, step over. So now I have his leg in front of my leg, and I still have the cradle locked up. So he's like in a really bad spot here. And I'll switch now, get my other leg in front. Okay, so now both my legs are behind his leg, and from here, I'm just gonna shift. You can see on the leg work here, switching right there. Once I'm there now, I'm almost on his back. Now I'm going to reverse my cradle. Right here. Okay, now notice I have his leg caught on my hip. Alright, so even though I'm letting go with this hand, he's still not going anywhere yet. Right, he tries to kick the leg out. I got him locked. This hand now comes to the head. He still can't go anywhere yet. He's still blocked. So once I switch my arms here, boom. Okay, so at no moment did I lose control of the leg or the head. I maintain constant control. So starting just from the cradle, I have him here, stepping over, hook that leg, come with my other leg. If he's resisting me a little bit, I'll just pull my leg into his head. Yeah, it's a strong stretch. He's not gonna like it. Okay, come behind, cross, cross. I let go, I'm staying tight here. Staying tight here. Boom. And get to the back right here. Okay, so essentially we reversed our cradle. All right? And we're gonna stop for here right now before we go to the next technique here. All right, so if you have any questions, go ahead, chat them in. I'm gonna let the class take a break and we'll get back to more stuff.
All right, guys, rep it out. 1, 2, 3. That was cool, man. Hey, we got it.
All right, so we're gonna move in now to the next part here. So if he's on his back, again, the last time we finished, we were here with the cradle after we reversed the cradle. Okay. Now, if you're just in side control, and I'm here, I can always lock up that reverse cradle as well. Real easy, right? All I'm gonna do, cross face here. I'm acting like I'm hugging this way. Nothing suspicious yet. And you might be framing, that's fine. Put a knee on belly. And then most people, what they do, they start picking that leg up because they don't want the mount. Boom. He just gave me the cradle. All right? Real easy. Low energy. All right? And again, it's, you know, it's not really telegraphed too much because normally I'm going to have this cross face. I'm going to have the underhook squeeze. He's framing. I start putting there. He gets that knee up. Coming behind. Boom. And right away cinch it up. And just like before, same thing. I want to make this as uncomfortable as possible. All right. So try to really pinch it in. Try to really crunch it in there and bring his knee to his face. That's your goal. If you can get his knee in his eye socket and blind him, great. All right. So really pulling in here. Now at this point, depending on his arm position, this arm right here, we have different options. Now one of them will be here. He might have his arm behind my back, and I have him here. Okay. And what we could do from here is I'll crowd him up. I'll get my knee in his hip. All right, and you might start seeing what I'm doing here. So I'll keep stepping up. Right here, boom. Okay, now I have the arm lock. I could fall back. Still have the leg. Finish here, okay? And if you have it tight enough, again, I cradle him up here. Come up. Using my shoulder to rock back. Using my hips to press forward, chest coming forward. And if I want to fall back, you can fall back. Just make sure you keep everything tight. Try to relax. I don't want to hurt Lois here. All right. Okay, so that's one option. Now, the other one, if his arm is here, okay, and I wrap the cradle this way, that armbar won't be there. All right, but what will be there is a back take. And all I'm going to do from here, I'll step out with this leg, and I'm going to sit him on his butt. Right here. Adjust the angle a little bit. So once I sit him up, I'm going to be like this. Okay, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to adjust my hands. Okay, here, boom, right here. Okay, so my hands were initially over his chest. All right, so now I'm just going to loop them through under the knee. Now, this side is clear, and I'm standing at this point. Okay, I'm on both feet. I can hook that leg, fall back. Okay, so right now, that hook is not available yet because I'm holding his leg up there. So I could cross my ankles at his hip, control the hips. You know, if you like doing the lockdown or, you know, the truck position, you can get there. But while I'm here, I'm continuing to put pressure. And he's not going to like it. So he starts pushing away. Boom. He just gave me the hook. And I'll jump right away to the choke. Okay, so one more time. This one. So he's on his back. I have that reverse cradle, arms in front of me here. All right. I'm going to step out with the leg closest to his head, sit him up, and then I'm going to move my arms from over his chest to across his knee, hook, fall back here. I have this control, okay? The moment I pull hard, he kicks, boom, right away. As he kicks, my leg is hooking. I'm going to immediately jump from the leg and punch up to get to the throat. And again, I could do my one-arm choke here, or I could just go full-on, rear naked, and finish there. Alrighty? So again, that was continuing off from reversing the cradle. Alright, and again, we could also set the same cradle just from the side control, arm bar, or taking the back. Alright? So let's go ahead. Do it on three. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Go. Alright guys, so I'm just going through some of the questions right now. I'm seeing Crawford Timms is asking, how does one escape being in the cradle in the bottom position? That's a tough spot. It's sort of like asking, how do you escape a full blast rear naked choke? It's it's tricky business, unfortunately. And it's one of the reasons why the cradle is so good. Because once you're all the way deep like that, it's really hard. Again, usually it requires a lot of spazzing out. Because the way, if you see these gentlemen in the back there, when you lock the cradle, your knee is glued to your chest. And what you need to escape is your pushing muscle. But when your knee is tight to your chest, your pushing muscles are completely weak. All right? So it's very difficult. I mean, if you're in the bottom, you're going to try to use your hands, maybe fight grip, try to kick your legs out. If you could use your free leg, try to use that. But in all honesty, it is very difficult. And as John Allen was saying, yep, if you could, you want to try to use your body, try to bring your head away like you're doing almost doing a bridge. So yeah, but again, there's no real clean technique as far as like a magic trick to escape easily. It's gonna be work. It's gonna be definitely a lot of work. Brian, well, we just showed a possible transition there for the truck, which was, you know, once you take the back there, you could hook, while you're still holding that cradle, you could lock up the truck with your free leg there, and that would allow you to set that up. What else? Do you have to have a crazy squeeze to maintain a cradle against a strong opponent? No, Michael, mainly because once you're real tight with a guy, if you think, I'll turn around real quick here, all right? So the way your muscles work, basic utilization theory here, your pushing muscles are strongest when your arms are extended. All right, if you think of like a bench press, all right, you're here, you're locked out. This is where you can support the most weight. And as your hands get closer to your chest is where you get weaker and weaker, right? And you fail here. Like when you go to failure, you don't fail at the top, right? You won't fail at the top, you're gonna fail at the bottom, right? So the opposite is true for the pulling muscles. Your pulling muscles are strongest, hands closest to the chest, weakest all the way out here. Right? If you think of a pull-up bar, nobody fails at the top, they fail at the bottom, right? So with the cradle, the idea is you're bringing the knee to his chest here, all right? So his escape muscle, which is going to be kicking the leg out, is a push. So it wants to be extended, but instead you have it completely contracted. So it is the weakest point that he could possibly defend himself, okay? So even if the guy is strong or whatnot, if you have that cradle really tight, it's very, very difficult. Not to say it's impossible for someone to like spaz out if they're like 50 pounds bigger than you, but in normal circumstances, you should have a very good control. Alrighty. And again, if you guys have any other questions, go ahead and ask them now, because we're close to wrapping up here.
Yeah, going against the wall is not idea. These guys always back up. I've had that problem though, breaking people down to the palm. I've never seen head carving. At first it's like, I wonder if that'll work, but then when you were showing it, you moved away, and I envisioned where the wall would be, so the guy's back was here. You moved here and then head carved. I was like, oh, yeah, that'll work. The cage won't be interfering.
No, yeah, that should work, man. Just me and you. Right here, we'll turn it around. So you want to stand here, right? I'm out. That's good there. All right, guys. So that wraps up our webinar here. I thank Professor Ra right here for coming in.
Thank you, Dave.
I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Now, if you like what you saw here and you want to get more of this, okay, Robert has his DVD series, which is called the Drysdale Cradle series. You can check it out. I'm going to drop the link just now, but it's bjjcradle.com. All right, and you just open it up so you can start ordering it now. We have it available in two formats. There's a DVD format and there's an online format. So if you're international and you don't want to ship a DVD, no worries. You can order it and you'll get online access. You can start watching it right after you order. If you order a DVD, you will also get online access. All right, so the only difference between the two is that you have to pay shipping and handling to get the DVD. All right, so if you want to save a few bucks, you can just do it online. Okay, but either one, you'll have online access and that gets emailed to you right away after you order. Okay, so again, it's bjjcradle.com. I'll put a link down right now so you guys go visit it. Other than that, he's got to go. Mom's birthday today.
Birthday. Taking her out for dinner.
So he stayed a little longer than he was supposed to just to get the lesson. Thank you,
Awesome.
sir.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you for watching, guys. It was a pleasure to share some of our experience with you guys. See you guys next time. Thank you.